That time I got reincarnated as a slime Pettiness born of a worm. Based on the Fuse Light novel. A mysterious form performs a summoning on the flat ground beside a large rock formation. They the summoner. Doing all that ritual, making a big sacrifice and nothing well, summoned. Curse the result. The hour under night's cloak, the moon's majesty partially cloud obscured. Disappointment and anger aside, couldn't stand around at the summoning site. A loved one is depending on care. This morning she's eating breakfast at the table because the summoner got up and prepared their child's food. A few knocks on the door takes the child's mind off her reverie, eating to get up and skip walk playfully towards it. The summoner stood in their gallery's edge, hands gripping the rail. Agitation written on their face. They'd have to be pretending at another species to not twist about last night. The mind swirling deep in what-ifs, a voice takes some moments to register. Papa, Papa, Papa. Jolted, snaps around to lay eyes on two girls about the same age. To utter astonishment, who would you be? They'd expected to see just their daughter who called out to them. Hardly what I'd call a strong summoner. Zayn gasps. Despair is reserved for your offenders, not you. Cannot be. Zayn's voice box wanted to fly out their throat. Their daughter none the wiser. Told me she came to you. The purple-haired human child can pass for 10. Cuteness in abundance, tied into a side ponytail, her middle-length hair by a ribbon, accentuating the hair. The fingernails are purple, a light-colored choker around the neck. Her small-statured body adorned in a pretty dress except bare arms, finely short cute boots. Thought I'd failed. Failure could also refer to when the summon finds a summoner weak and turn on them. Things considered, last night didn't count as the worst outcome. Found me how? Tracked a magicule trail. The tension from your brainwaves is nothing to sense either while we're on that point. For privacy or perhaps more apt, sanity, the two are in the study. The little girl ensconced on the sofa swinging the legs playfully. The summoner sat in their gray chair staring, lost in thought again. The girl smiles sweetly at them as though responding. Jolted out the stupor asks cautiously, let me understand. You'd be a demon. Weak summoners as yourself I'd not care for, count yourself a special case. See, there's something I'd have you provide instead of compensation. Humph. We can dispense with details later. What service would you have me render? I ask your ear. I delve in both science and magic. Maybe science magician is familiar to you. The traveling town Temrin, they extract magic ore, with that you process into magisteel. By travel, the whole town changes gravity to float over the ground. But really what this is about reprobates capture people and use people's souls to power their levitation machine. With all the dread they can muster, return shall they in 2 days. Kill them, kill them. The little girl chuckles sweetly. Zayn made residence in a lakeside settlement. Altis. For a middle-aged man and daughter, heaven compared to other places this world can offer. The day young. The two engage in a number of fun things, as the settlement is toured like have a magical mini-statuette of themselves conjoined, fashioned by an artisan, sampled the swing seat in a park playground. He gets her a tasty drink. Acts so cute to see, her smile innocence of a child's. On a bench they rest or is really the adult. The little girl sits on their lap content. The summoner thinks back to conversation in the study. The violet-haired notes she believes exist nice things in this settlement, and asks she be taken out. The summoner instead thinks honoring the contract is order of the day. The girl responds not every day brings chance to dwell in the material world. She's not incurious about this realm. Zayn reasons to themselves a little kid wouldn't know such a big word. Manner of speech is so mature when you pay attention. They acquiesced. And now couldn't shake what's feigned moment by moment. A dread feeling. Second-guessing what's summoned. A mere kid or empress of the dark. Secured to us mounting the giant magicule levitator. Mayor Admalia making the rounds, stopped by into the propulsion room housing the machine. True magicules powered the apparatus, calling it magic fuel is discounting this resource, the core behind all magical and demonic life. Magicules the very form of energy that allows for the creation of skills and casting of various forms of magic. Beings possessing abundance are deemed strong, monsters are made of this stuff. The engineer had foresight to answer without a question first, the old man's probing features were enough. All systems a go, Mayor Admalia, this machine is the best. Pausing here is our limits mechanical strain. This magical tech is invaluable to Temrin. A leg up on other towns, unlike them, Temrin can go to important regions for trade and resources, instead of waiting for merchants to come, and vulnerable to trade route whims. Amelia spared a joke. Make sure one of you stays in the room to shut it off if the town leaves without me. Lass escaped both. Electrons that made up its form were diminishing, and now down to the last remnants. Moments later, last of the electricity shrunk, fading away along with its luminosity. In the wake of the phenomenon, a bushy thicket is scorched. A security man whistled. This morning witnessed magic in action. Himself and others stand guard outside in force. Ginormous town reduced them to specks. The community stopped near the forest river to replenish water. He spoke to its user, Security Chief Nasser, holding a pose of his arms outstretched forward. One day I want to reach your status, Chief. He replied, substitute status for discipline. Magic proficiency builds on this. Trust me. I will. I do, sir. Magic ore is the conversion of regular mineral ore absorbing monster magicules. High-level monsters between Temrin and ore. That's where Nasser entered the picture. Clear these undesirables from the vicinity. Remains of the dayers eyed with evening. The something that stuck to their heart well before a demon ever arrived is pettiness. The two are crossing the street. Acting a curious child or rather like one, the little girl is inspecting the statuette in playful curiosity. Zayn, there's this neighbor. Need you to take care of them and something else. Her aforementioned interaction with the statuette didn't distract in any sense. Maintaining the same playfulness and attention focused on the statue, the only sign of warning in her child's voice. I chose foregoing compensation and make do with this day out. Alterations to the contract mandate compensation. Acceptable. Yeah, well, worrying is for Koloko. Humans are truly a race apart. Scarcely since the arrangement finds herself walking a curved path, hands casually behind her cute noggin. Cutting through the garden, justly attractive were it not fairly unkept, flurry and want of pruning and tree leaves scattered every which way on the plants and footpath. As the purple-haired little girl walks casually, leaves in her direct front on the path blew aside without air moving them, as though a mark of subservience. The house is nearby in front, subtly from either side of the path, guard beasts emerge. Monsters disguised as statues, roar menacingly. No flinching by her. The creatures cower in fear. She walks past with no visible sign acknowledging their existence up to the door. Koloko's mind has little to occupy this moment of rest. He sat in the living room. He fidgets to the sound of light footsteps. He has seconds to make out the profile of someone from the side, and wonder how the beasts let them inside, when their eyes, telekinetically removed, float away from the sockets. Next are circling her height, orbiting each other like planets near herself, when she positions them to access the locking mechanism of a safe birectal scanner. Within is a paper parchment. Moments of scanning with her eyes. Naughty are you, Zayn. The summoner reads a parchment paper in their study. Brushing up on a specific reality of demons. Primals are the elite of their race. Demons are descended from these few, feared and reputed by demon and other species alike. Recorded as a figure that so resembled the one who found them, one they brought into their lives. Bright then becomes aware she's standing quietly mere feet away, looking other than his direction. The summoner is ready for their soul to jump out their body. Your kind sneak up on people in hell too. They snapped in their seat. Knighted returned. You raise your stock trying to be informed, comes the dismissive reply. Speaking to the summoner as according to parchment a progenitor of demons, among the absolute oldest and powerful, existing from creation's dawn. Names have they not, instead known by hair color. Of the seven marked by their specific color, in their ranks of purple. In the demon realm roams a little child like this. The summoner takes a while to compose themselves. That burst of anger will elevate them how this point. Lodged in their throat a feeling as if she'd been there good while and chose to let herself alert their consciousness. The magician qualities take precedence now. Dare I call you the primal violet? Her dollop of being a child gave her a taste for more. Day after Zayn, his daughter and invited guest are outdoors roaming around the settlement, delighting in all 'tis as yesterday. The summoner found it unreal, a fiction nobody can write. Last night the demon affirmed the contract shall be fulfilled, went on to say more to reap awaiting the town's arrival, and accomplished the neighbor task. Violet and little girls Ina do more than play, they talk, a rapport among two girls identical in apparent age. Visiting a stall, shoot targets for a prize of lollipops, blow bubbles, take the swing. Arriving at the lake, float paper boats atop the lake edge water. Pat a cake. Children's clapping game the two girls play. The summoner sat on the lakeside bench, their head turned sideways, gazing. Not for the last time the mind locked in contemplation. But should that be taken as contrition? The other night summoned the strongest of mysterious entities. A person's socket suddenly had no eyes. Literally feet away, the force responsible plays with their child. Had anxiousness been eating away at them is all. Later statuettes again, both conjoined and separate this time. After that, Violet actually had them piggyback her. Summoning a being as ancient and destructive as a minuscule chance. Zayn, jumbled, so I'm going to ask what's on my mind. Violet, would you ever be one of us? The girl on their shoulders is thoughtful and welling from the recesses. Can't deny you live a life I at best experience in short bursts like a short-lived insect. Look at me here asking, let me share in it. When it comes down to it, a part of me envies the material world. But giving up my nature I could never do. Tomorrow it begins. The town arrived this morning, speed low, its position several miles from Eltiz, would look small to each other, should an observer be at either location. The plain awash in low grass and those close to the huge town flutter from the energy. An early defense, the purple encounters are flying knives launched from the hidden slits of the entry gate frame. As she strolls casually deeper into town, half-decent buildings and streets to take in, also to take in are the defense forces blocking the way. 18 security men plus security commander Nasser and 2 inhuman creatures. Hard to miss what else she'd been doing, have the 7 knives floating telekinetically mid-air. She stops walking, lollipop in hand. Nasser aggressively set off the alarm. How'd you find your way aboard? What are you doing here? Her voice childlike, if only this were hello lass, I must be honest about goodbyes. See, my contractor sent yours truly to make the majesty of this place a ruin. Beginning with a scoff, Nasser is not easily cowed, going by your look an otherworlder magician. The pity I can spare is ending your suffering. Beings from different worlds are summoned here by mystic ritual against their will, and cannot defy a master, a curse of obedience etched on their soul. The creatures in question are minotaur-like Gozu monsters. Powerful looking. Each footstep quaking the ground lightly, the first charging her down impales into 6 horizontal knives, killing itself, crashes to the ground. Quickly she changed places with the blades. Tone apologetic, deliberately didn't move so fast as not to be imperceptible to the eye. A girl wants to have dark fun. Hey, be kind, giving up some answers. Same as the first, the second charges, the horn about to reach her when the 7th knife telekinetically flew, that intercepted the horn, though still connected with her face. The beast's momentum takes it past the girl, only to halt and turn around behind her. The security men cannot mistake the blade sticking out its forehead and collapse with a loud thud. Knives employed for her own domineering amusement. Observers think she unharmed, correcting, oh, I'm in some pain. Something many times her size didn't knock her down. The monster is strong one this world has. A security officer finishes in awe, which did nothing. Nasser the Dauntless, all we've seen here are your defenses, impressive they may be or every bit human. She says childlike, she'll bequeath despair. Just a bit alrighty. Thus far no hint of distress on her part. Rushing to the scene, the mayor halts at Nasser's side, this little child the hostile. A tough cookie otherworlder human. She's sent here to destroy Temrin, Mr. Mayor. What? Take her alive. He demands, squeeze every drop of info out. Prepare yourself for real magic, brat. The lollipop in hand she unwraps and licks. Vanished except for the sucker hanging mid-air a couple seconds and it back in her mouth, sped up to eye blink speeds to approach targets and kill, before they knew what slew them, then returned to the lollipop before it had a chance to fall. Everyone but Violet turned heads in the direction of screams. 3 security officers had their faces melt. The child voice hasn't left, Cutesy says, back to my question. Are souls powering your town? Capture anyone for that? Is a Coloco known to you? Yells at Malia and gesticulating, somebody kill it. The sound of his voice spurred remaining security save for Nasser to reach for their swords. If you don't want to talk to me that's okay, but when I ask a question you have to give me the answer. They may have reached the handles with their hands, however before any can leave their scabbards, licks the lollipop and vanished except for the treat hanging mid-air a couple seconds and it back in her mouth, she back to her last spot. Screams louder than last. Lollipop has 8 letters. That many fall, faces melted. The mayor softly, we can't win. Electric bomb. Shouted with its Incan for a name, the chief thrust both arms forward and flying from the wide open hands placed together, is spherical electricity about a foot across. Some feet over the target halts, and the ball discharges intense heat and lightning like bolts below to a radius much greater than the sphere. Some seconds pass and the magic ends. As it's supposed except. Her left arm raised, see the ball has quickly shrunk to a much smaller span barely thicker than the index finger, which it is now inches above, hovering, lightning discharge having expended. Nasser's face in dread. Both their lower arms already snapped, tilted down at an angle. Shock prevented any pain. Her closed lips curve into a smile at them. That little demon applied super speed, closed the intervening distance, break the arms soon as the ball was coming, and returned to her former position faster than the eye can follow, then to neutralize the attack. Demons as a species possess high magic resistance. Suddenly his right to their immediate front closed in again. Uses the free hand to pry open the mouth, and with the other place the mini ball inside. They convulse from electrocution as she skip walks away. Despair's bitter taste. Defenses mean about as much as the dirt on the ground, and plenty as the blood on the floor. Playfully Skip walks over to the mare, her name recognized belonging to an ancient species. Looking down at her, "Are you an archdemon?" "New by seeing." He. "What to call you, mister?" "Be Amelia." Violet responds cheerfully, wanted to be polite. Next her questions probe the old man. His answers cast suspicion on the contractor. "Your town's interesting levitation, what powers it?" The levitator. "I felt a powerful magicule concentration." "Give the girl a minute," said the diminutive peasant. The propulsion room. Violet made her way there. Several bodies. Not on the floor and walls. The ceiling ran red. The bodies are attached to the ceiling engineers. Nature's laws are suggestions to her. She whistles and all. Or was that mockery? A magical powered device her goal, and she stood to its front, tracing magicule emissions no one seriously considers worthy of the word challenge knowing her. Violet thereby can accurately say to herself, this community's levitation magic owes everything to this magicule-fueled levitation engine, here am I right? Out of her field of vision is the last surviving engineer, slumped against a wall, the face written on by fear and confusion. Hovering just above her left hand forms a purple, small mass of magic. By her will floats over to and through the outer shell of the massive device. Explode in a bloody expression the engineer's head does. The room empty of her next instant. The mare on their knees, utterly despondent. The girl appeared standing in front of them as if teleporting. In fact, super speed. They're at equal eye level. Commenting the despair is dripping off them. The mayor gets some news. She communicates how this town enters its last moments shortly, infused her demonic magic into the levitation engine, and will warp the gravity the place relies on to maintain the floating. Demons are obligated to keep contracts. Sweet dreams in the afterlife. The mayor, defeated and tone-matching, asks, "You've cursed us. What did we ever do to you?" "Heard me say a summoner contracted me, but thinking it over, pettiness born of a worm." A hint of regret in her voice. With this flies away. The engine, all its intimidating size, began deforming shape-wise and collapsed inward immediately as if shrinking. From outside, Violet stands on the ground over a few thousand feet away, regarding what once home to a multitude. Everything nailed down or not, the first building began rising fairly quick, torn off very foundations, promptly followed by more buildings, poles, trees, outdoor chairs, water from the communal pool, along with inhabitants in shock terror. If it were possible, their screams rose higher than the buildings. Both individuals in the open and structures with people within are carried gently upward. Violet continued her grim vigil, her adorable face in flat acceptance. Invisibly, this gravity field is outside nature's dictates, defying normal uniform downward pull. Across the town it picked up things. What's next? More unconceivable. The assorted and numerous individual objects caught in the gravity field orient themselves in, so as to form the rough equivalent of a giant ball. The parts are facing its center, tops of buildings, the pool water in elongated shape, tops of trees. Many people were alive. Enough were alive. Desperate screams loud enough to carry over to her position. The mass wasn't jumbled, rather in general closely spaced, with the odd exception. The ball aligned to the gravitational field. A shadow cast by it on the grassy plain that spilled off the massive town foundation, stripped bare, the ball hanging a few hundred feet above. Kept this nightmarish orientation a while longer, until slowly the pieces of material headed for the empty center where they collide, grounded up in a sound of crunching and breaking material. Dust and bits of fall onto the foundation beneath. Contract fulfilled, the summoner is met in the gallery, him sitting, she leaning on the railing beholding the lake. Zaina is in another room drawing. Frazzled, Zayn demands the demon is not one to judge their actions. Internally they tried to put up nerves of steel, in spite what she'd said about despair for his adversaries. You'd have to be supernatural or crazed to respond in a childish vocal tone. A summoner's morality isn't all important to use demon folk. Then again, for showing me the world was originally deemed sufficient in place of compensation for services rendered. Then you wanted the neighbor taken care of. Compensation, other hand, is of great importance to demons. Her tone isn't angry, laid out the details calmly, and that's the time of dread. Violet gives her reasons for sensing at last the lie. The settlement is carefree, nobody was decked out for war, nobody looked in fear for dear life, except for the neighbor. The parchment she found for the summoner outlined the neighbor, and they entered into a magic ore partnership. The parchment she was ordered to dispose of wasn't enough for the summoner, so she was dispatched to eliminate them. And lastly, questioning the Temran Mayor revealed nobody's souls powered anything, no kidnap, and Koloko is known to him. Violet's suspicion birthed itself in town. Add that up, the summoner schemed for the ore. Their real purpose summoning her. This mortal is bold enough to trifle with a demon. Whispers she, think you can fool a primordial. This magician would crush under the weight knowing how long she lived. Compensation Zayn is required regarding the Koloko side request. He rests easier noting she didn't do it over ending a town. That little cute lily applies a curse inducement, she will have it over her head. Without fail destined to activate in a future time. Your pettiness would in no way be bound by dormancy, and in that way trigger the imprecation. Of the view his nature would get the better of him. Floating next to her a spherical transparent globe around 6 inches across, its center shone with light, and around that a gaseous blue color dances. A soul, dear father. One of Temran's many. Her childish tone is back. Itching to do something crazy with that, no. Demons can power themselves that way. He wasn't panicking outwardly yet. She clarifies the matter. Harvested souls are not kept by the primordial this time, but transferred to the daughter, your daughter. Violet snapped her fingers. The girl stops painting. The eyes glow purple ominously. Fleetingly, for in seconds the glow dims away, and then returns to painting the scenery through the window like nothing demonic happened. Devil. What did you do to my daughter? Really call it mystery. That box will be opened by you, Zayn. A lump in the throat the man has, light about souls. Thinks, now, why now? That thought welled up and couldn't suppress. The summoner doesn't say aloud, loath to personally pay the compensation, unfaceable truth, as a result the daughter will. Violet vanishes from the physical world, taking with her a statue of her and Zaina. Author's no kid hasn't met Remure Tempest and Unnamed. Anyone curious why a demon acts a kid, her descendants are the whimsical stance, other words behavior. The floating town I fished for my memory of a vampire hunter D book I own that had one. Ah man, chances. By chance saw a woman's picture on my PC, the words Zaina across it, checking. It is Zaina is a girl's name of Swahili origin, meaning beauty, grace. Any father would imagine her daughter that way, normal fathers. Her original name was Lola. Decided to run with it and go with the related Zayn. He had no name or sex yet. Not off if dad names their child in the feminine right. Reflecting my tendency for females, virtually every fanfic of mine has female leads. Can't fully explain why. Violet isn't my first child combatant, the hardest. Pretty Pioneer Nyamashi has a magical girl her age. The title is a metaphor. I'll respect your intelligence letting you soar. The series also goes by Tensei Shitara Suremu Data Ken, also known as Tensor or Slime Isekai. Day Tuesday, 19 April 2022.